There is a strange trap that almost nobody talks about. You can get a raise, make more money, live in a nicer house, drive a better car, take better vacations, and somehow feel no richer than you did 5 years ago. In fact, you can make twice as much money and still be financially trapped. The problem isn't always income. Sometimes, it's what happens to your life after your income goes up. Imagine someone making $50,000 a year. They live in a small apartment, drive an old car, cook most of their meals, and think carefully before buying something expensive. Then their career takes off. 5 years later, they're making $120,000. So they upgrade everything. A bigger apartment, a newer car, more expensive restaurants, better vacations, subscriptions they barely use, a few nice gadgets, maybe a bigger house with a bigger mortgage. And none of these decisions looks crazy on its own. That's what makes the trap so powerful. Their income went up, but so did the cost of maintaining the life that came with it. They didn't become wealthier. They simply became more expensive to maintain. This is lifestyle inflation, and it quietly destroys one of the most powerful forces in personal finance: the gap between what you earn and what you need. That gap is where wealth is built, not in the salary itself. Think about two people who both earn $100,000. One spends $95,000. The other spends $65,000. On paper, they have the same income. In reality, they are living completely different financial lives. One has $5,000 left at the end of the year. The other has $35,000. That difference can become investments, a business, an emergency fund, education, or simply the freedom to say no to a bad job. And here's the interesting part. The second person may not look wealthy at all. They might drive the older car. They might live in the less impressive house. They might wear ordinary clothes. From the outside, they could look like they're doing worse. But underneath the surface, they are buying something far more valuable than status. They're buying options. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings about wealth. We often confuse the appearance of wealth with the existence of wealth. A luxury car is visible. A brokerage account isn't. A large house is visible. A low debt-to-income ratio isn't. An expensive vacation is visible. 10 years of disciplined investing isn't. And because humans are wired to compare what they can see, we often spend money on things that prove we're doing well instead of building things that actually make us financially stronger. That's why a person can look rich and still be one bad year away from panic. And another person can look completely ordinary while quietly becoming financially independent. Now, this doesn't mean you should live like a monk. Money is supposed to improve your life. There is nothing wrong with a better home, better food, travel, comfort, or enjoying the rewards of your work. The problem begins when every increase in income automatically creates an increase in spending. Because once your lifestyle becomes dependent on your highest income, your freedom starts moving in the opposite direction. Here's a simple example. Imagine your income rises from $60,000 to $90,000. You could spend almost all of that extra $30,000. Or you could allow your lifestyle to absorb only $10,000 and direct the remaining $20,000 toward assets. The first choice feels better immediately. The second choice may completely change your life 10 years from now. That's the part people underestimate. Wealth is often created by decisions that are almost invisible in the short term. You don't feel dramatically richer because you invested another $500 this month. Nobody congratulates you for keeping your old car for another 3 years. Nobody notices that you didn't upgrade your apartment when you got a raise. But these small decisions create something incredibly powerful, a growing distance between your income and your required lifestyle. And that distance gives you leverage. If you need $10,000 every month just to maintain your lifestyle, you need a very large income to feel safe. If you can live well on $5,000, you have something most people underestimate: resilience. You can survive a bad year. You can leave a toxic job. You can take a calculated risk. You can spend 6 months learning something new. You can start a business without immediately needing it to replace your salary. The lower your required lifestyle relative to your income, the more freedom your money can buy. And this leads to a strange paradox. Sometimes earning more money doesn't make you freer. Sometimes it makes you more dependent. Because every upgrade can create a new fixed cost. A bigger house means a bigger mortgage. A more expensive car means a bigger payment, higher insurance, and maintenance. More subscriptions mean more recurring expenses. More possessions mean more things to maintain. More status can create more pressure to maintain that status. Slowly, your income stops being something you control and becomes something your lifestyle controls. That's when a raise can become a trap. So what should you do when your income increases? You don't have to reject the better life. Instead, try something different. Create a personal rule for your raises. Maybe every time your income increases, only a portion goes toward lifestyle. The rest automatically goes toward assets. The exact percentage doesn't matter as much as the principle. Your lifestyle should rise more slowly than your income. Because if your income grows by 30% and your lifestyle grows by 30%, your financial position may barely change. But if your income grows by 30% and your lifestyle grows by 10%, the difference can become enormous over time. And there's another benefit that has nothing to do with money. You become harder to control. You don't need every promotion. You don't need every bonus. You don't need to impress people you barely know. You don't need to keep a job you hate simply because your monthly expenses have become impossible to escape. That's real wealth. Not the ability to buy more things, but the ability to make more choices. And maybe that's the question we should be asking when our income rises. Not, what can I afford now? But, what can I afford to stop worrying about? Can I afford 6 months without a paycheck? Can I afford to turn down a bad opportunity? Can I afford to invest in myself? Can I afford to take a risk? Can I afford to say no? Because the best use of higher income isn't necessarily a higher standard of consumption. Sometimes it's a higher standard of freedom. And this is why two people with the same salary can have completely different levels of wealth. One keeps converting every raise into a more expensive lifestyle. The other converts part of every raise into assets, skills, ownership, and optionality. One becomes richer in appearance. The other becomes richer in reality. So the next time you get a raise, before you ask what new thing you can buy, pause for a moment. Ask a different question. How much of this increase can I turn into something that will make future me less dependent on income? That question may not give you the most exciting answer today, but 10 years from now, it might be one of the most valuable questions you ever asked. Because income can make your life better. But the gap between income and lifestyle is what can make you free. And once you understand that, getting richer stops being about looking richer. It becomes about needing less, owning more, and slowly buying back the one thing money can never replace: your time.